folks, and welcome to their Saturday morning Samoflange. I am Matt, and I have my top 5 Michael Douglas. I said I would do it last week, and I follow through. I thought about Jeff Bridges, but there's a lot of Jeff Bridges movies I need to go back and rewatch. I'm like, oh yeah, I liked his character there, but was the movie good? I just don't remember. Like I could think of 3 I know for sure would be my top 3, but the other ones I was like, dang, I know he was good in that, but was the movie good? Because Jeff Bridges is always good. So for Michael Douglas, it was a lot easier to do just because there's so many good ones here, and this was kind of harder than what I thought it would be to kind of rank these. But I'm going to do these, then get to my regular subject. So bonus one. Bonus. This is just a bonus review here before top 5 before I get to my worst TV show finales, which is the topic here today. But of course, you know that in the title. I keep forgetting I don't have to introduce that anymore, I don't think. So top 5 Michael Douglas. I said I'd do this. Would be fun. I couldn't do this as a full episode. I mean, I think maybe Benjamin could do this. I know Mikey could do this, but of course, Mikey is impossible to get a hold of these days. Impossible. The dude has the biggest, he has a movie theater in his house. Big screen, nice projector, surround sound. I mean, I'm jealous. I want that setup. I want to watch movies the way he watches them. And I've talked to him about coming over and doing movie nights. He's always active about that, but every time I talk about coming over, there's always a reschedule, or he can't do it this night, or it's always something different. So it sucks, because I'd love to have him on here. And I think he could do this one really well. However, here we go. Michael Douglas, top 5, really quick. Number 5, Ghost in the Darkness. I wouldn't have this as Val Kilmer's best, because Val Kilmer's done a ton of good movies. This is a great movie. And Michael Douglas is excellent in everything, but this is just fantastic Michael Douglas movie. And I love it. I love it. It's based on a true story in a way. I remember seeing this in theaters, not knowing what to expect and loving it. I don't know if anyone does this, but you should. If you're older like me, go back and watch some 90s trailers. You know, in a world where the narrator, they don't do this anymore, but the narrator doing it, it's great. I miss those type of promos. We stopped getting them in the 2000s. You know, maybe in the late 90s we kind of stopped. I don't remember when we actually full-time stopped, but the narrator in the movie, there's a boy and a girl. They meet in strange ways. You know, where it just kind of explains the movie to you. And now it's just cool just to show clips. That's the way trailers have been for the past, 20 years now. Over 20 years. Time for us to get back to the narrator. At least a few times. Let's test it out. But I watched trailers to some Jeff Bridges movies that I will probably never see. The Mirror Has Two Faces, Barbra Streisand. Not interested. But because it was playing, because I was looking at other 90s trailers, I said, sure, let's look at all these nice trailers. It just sent me back to just great days of watching trailers in movie theaters. Honestly, you were excited to watch trailers. Now I'm like, just get to the movie. It's funny how I'm different now. I'm like, just stop showing me trailers, get to the movie. But back in the day, we loved seeing the trailer. Even if it was something we weren't going to see, we just loved hearing the voice. There was a man. Max Caldwell was your average guy, but one day his life would change for the better, whatever, until he met her. I'd love that. I love that. And I remember ancient years ago, back when it was me, Mikey, and CJ doing Saturday Morning Samoflange, we spoke about this very thing, and CJ nails the narrator voice. CJ is even harder to get because he can't come at nights. He's got a lot of young kids like me, so he's tied to his house too. Eventually, as the years go by, we still connect. I still see him almost every week, definitely every other week, but I still see him. But he's just busy on the nights, and he can come over on a Saturday, but Saturdays are like the worst days in the world for me. So that's when I'm watching all 4 kids. So it has to be after the kids go to bedtime, but that's busy time for him too. So I don't know if he'll ever be on again. He'll be on someday again, but it just won't be recent. But I'd love to see him do the voice. Either way, stalling here. Number 4. This is why I'm going to make a 2-parter because I think these are sequels. Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile. I put these down as movies I want to watch. They're up there with Big Kahuna that I talked about last week. I need to see these movies. We watched them all the time as kids. We like it's kind of an Indiana Jones adventure ripoff thing. We love that. I remember Mom and Dad really liking these. We also like the awful Canon Pictures Alex Quartermain movies. I can't remember what the first one was, but the second one was Lost City of Gold. And I remember us thinking, this is the best one ever. And the first one's called something else. But either way, we loved them both. We loved those movies. And then watching them as a college kid or past college, I realized, oh, these movies aren't as good. They're fun for other reasons, but they're a little over the top, very campy and wonderful. Like, what's his name? Politically correct. Bill Maher. He did a movie, Piranha Women of the Avocado Jungle of Death. It's great. It's super campy. It's one of those Indiana Jones super campy ones made in the mid, I want to say 80s, back when he was still working on his acting chops there as a younger man. And it's hilarious. I won't watch it anytime soon, but I will eventually probably go back and see that movie. I don't even know if it's streaming anywhere. I remember one time I passed it up getting on DVD, and I've regretted it ever since. It was on sale. I was like, yes. And I went, no, I don't want this. And I would have died for that now. It's like my How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying DVD. It's worth tons of money, actually, I found out. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love it. But I should have gotten the Piranha Women of the Avocado Jungle of Death. But anyway, Jewel of the Nile, Romancing the Stone, I think came first, then Jewel of the Nile. I think Sharon Stone's in that. Either way, I would watch those again. I need to watch those again. Top of the list. My number 3 would have been my number 1 at one time. When I saw this movie, I didn't know if I'd be a fan. Ended up loving The Game. The Game is just odd. It's odd, but it intrigues you. You are hooked the whole way. There was a good friend of mine who, she doesn't live here anymore, but she loved The Game, and we would rant about The Game. We actually watched The Game. That was the last time I watched The Game. We watched The Game together, and we just loved the movie. I actually bought the DVD, surprised, because back then streaming wasn't big. It wasn't a thing. So I found a copy of the DVD, bought it online, and surprised her with it. We watched it, and then I gave her the movie. I gave her the movie because I think this is when she got married and moved away. So this is right before she got married. And I wanted her to have it kind of as a, wedding present, early wedding present or whatnot. But we sat there and watched it together and had the best time. It's still a solid movie. I will watch this movie again. I don't want to spoil anything about it, but it's his birthday and he's playing this odd game and it's life or death. And it's got a quirky twist at the end that I just love. The whole movie, you got to unhook your brain at the end of the movie going, wait, what? But overall, I enjoyed the ride. Sure, I think it's a little over the top ending, but it was still good. So I accept it. And plus, it's my number 3. And at one time, maybe 10, 15 years ago, it would have been my number 1. Quite possibly, this could have been my number 1. Heck, I watch it again, it could be number 1. Who knows? All right, number 2. Obviously, you heard me talk about last time. I'm not going to talk about much more. Wall Street. And looking back, after I did the podcast, I looked at Wall Street. Money Never Sleeps. I forgot Shia LaBeouf was the guy. I couldn't remember who the other guy was. Not a big Shia LaBeouf fan, but maybe that's what, I didn't appreciate about the new movie. However, watching the trailer, yeah, I'd watch that. I definitely, if I'm going to watch Wall Street, I am going to watch Money Never Sleeps right after. Okay? The next time I watch Wall Street, it's going to be a double feature. Double feature for me all the way. Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps in there, locked in, number 2. Number 1, though. Number 1 is a movie that I recently saw as of last week. And I totally didn't think about this when I was talking about Michael Douglas, but then when I was thinking about what I loved, I went, wait a minute, I just saw this movie, and it is his best. It is Falling Down. Folks, if you haven't seen Falling Down, it's a brilliant film. It's a brilliant film. I heard Michael Douglas took a pay cut to be a part of it. It's a Joel Schumacher film, but don't let that dissuade you, because it is Joel Schumacher. I think it's Joel Schumacher. I think it's his best movie. It's Michael Douglas's best movie. It's about a man who just breaks down. He's in traffic, and that's his final straw. And he just breaks down. He just starts his whole world is starting to crumble around him, and he's already been off insane a little bit, but this is what pushes him over the edge. It's excellent. It's a flawless 10 out of 10 movie. The first time we watched it, we were just going through Blockbuster, just finding something. I remember we watched it, we all looked at each other and went, that was amazing. And then I rewatched it a few years later with one of my roommates and said, this is still amazing. I have not seen this in probably 20 years. I watched it again last week because I just thought, I don't remember what made me think about it. Because I'm trying to rewatch old movies is what I'm trying to do. But I rewatched, my wife did not want to watch it. She was wanting to watch her little TV show. I was like, all right, fine. I watched that movie. It's even, I don't know how, it's still flawless. It's still one of the best movies I've ever seen. And it's easily Michael Douglas's best. Falling Down, check it out. Incredible movie. Well worth your time. Well worth your time. Cannot stress that enough. Okay, Michael Douglas top 5. Took a little bit longer than I intended, but that's okay. It's just me talking, and I got to go for 30. So not hard when I have 2 topics, though. I was talking to my old roommate, actually, if Bruce from Saturday Morning Samoflange, his younger brother. His younger brother and I were technically friends first. We were best friends, and then when college came around, like that next year, Bruce came in, and then I became better friends with Bruce. I was friends with both of them, but now Bruce is closer. I love Will, his younger brother, to death. I love him to death. I miss that man. I wish he was living up here. His little girl still lives down in Baton Rouge, so he's kind of tied to her. But she's older now. I think she's college or whatnot. He needs to let her go. He needs to let her do her thing and come up here. His whole family's up here. I love him. I'm running out of friends. I can't make new friends. I need to call him more, I guess. Because I called him today, because I was prepping for next week's podcast. And I wanted to double check a story because I didn't want to exaggerate. And I said, look, I'm going to tell you the story, and I want you to call me out when I exaggerate, okay? Because I don't want to overinflate the story. Because I can misremember things and make it bigger than what it was. And he said, no, that's exactly what happened. But anyway, we started talking about this topic because I told him I was studying for this podcast, and I told him or a future podcast, and what my podcast was I was going to do that night. And he kind of chimed in. I didn't agree with him a few things, but I said I'd mention it. Worst TV finales. You will not see a lot of them because that people put on here. I never watched Game of Thrones. Will, Game of Thrones is his number 1. He said the entire season was great. The last episode, and I hear this from a lot of people, the last episode sucked. He said, in fact, he told me probably not to watch the last episode, and I'd feel better about my life. So it must be really bad. I've heard How I Met Your Mother was sucked at the end. Now, I haven't seen this show because I don't want to watch it if it sucks at the end. I will probably watch Game of Thrones. However, that's a big commitment, and I don't know when I'll make it. Maybe soon one day, but I will watch it soon. But bad finales piss me off. Now, he also said his second worst, would be Sopranos. He was so pissed. Sopranos didn't bother me. Sopranos, to me, didn't have a big story. Yeah, they had little side storylines, but overall, they just did whatever they wanted. It didn't have, I feel like that TV show never had a goal in mind. It just wanted to make thought-provoking episodes. The way it ended, yeah, it kind of sucks. You never got any resolution about what happens to Tony Soprano, but at the same time, do we need it? I don't think so. I even saw that prequel movie they did not too long ago. It was fine. It didn't want to make me rewatch The Sopranos. Would I ever rewatch The Sopranos? I don't think I would. I think I'm one and done on that show. There's a lot of shows like that I'm one and done, like Entourage. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd watch it again. Maybe I would, but I don't know. Either way, though. That would be his number 2. It is not on mine. And I can't remember. I think, let me make sure, he agreed with 2 of mine. So does that give him 5? Yes, because I think How I Met Your Mother was on his. So he and I would have had 2 crossovers. And my five are a little bit different. And it's on a level of frustration. Like, oh, this aggravates me that such a good show did not stick the landing. And I guarantee you'll know 3, if not 4 of these. 3 for sure, I think everyone knows because everyone talks about it. 4, maybe. My number 5 is the one I don't think anyone will mention. Quantum Leap. I loved Quantum Leap when it came out. Another show I probably will not watch again, even though I loved it. I loved exploring the world of Dr. Beckett as he jumped from person to person and was trying to right a wrong. That was a great show. Watch it with my mom all the time. If my mom and I ever had time to watch a show together, this would probably be on the top of the list, maybe. But the ending, the finale, here's what bothered me. I actually liked the finale in a way. I like that he goes to this weird mining colony where everyone from a lot of key episodes are reprising their roles as miners or just characters in the last episode for no apparent reason. And he sees himself in the mirror. He's finally him. But he's stuck in this nexus, this netherworld. And he's just talking about and you think, okay, this is the episode where he finally goes home. Because that's what the whole premise of the show is. He's trying to find his way back home. And he goes back to an episode and rights another wrong for Sam. To make Sam's life better. But then he just keeps leaping. Well, what does that mean? Where does he go? Like the whole movie, like a whole episode, I was into it. We were I remember we watched this live because back then you had VCR, but you watched things live. And so mom was not going to miss Quantum Leap and dad let us watch it because mom watched it. And we were all excited. Where was it going to go? And the very ending just kind of ticked me off because he didn't jump back. Why didn't they give him a happy ending? I read later on that they had plans to make a movie, but those plans never happened. Now that's really weird because having a TV show jump to the big screen was very rare back then. Unless your name was Star Trek, that didn't happen. So why they thought, maybe it was a lie. Or maybe it wasn't that solid a deal as they make it out to be. But they sounded like, yeah, it was going to be an easy sell for a movie. But then they struggled and they couldn't sell it. And to my knowledge, they didn't write a book about it. I would have read a book. I think they wrote books about Quantum Leap. But either way, though, I wanted to see where he went. And this is a minor one, which is why it's number 5. But yes, it bothers me that the story did not conclude because they kept every beginning, every opening, in the opening statement, he's trying to find his last jump home. I may even watch the intro after this podcast. I plan on watching the intro again. It's so good. So good, but he never finds his way home, and that bothered me. So number 5. Number 4, Dexter. Now, here's the tricky part, and this is why. Dexter, the original ending, I thought the New Blood series gave him a much better ending, and when I talked to my good friend Will, he agreed with me. It was a much better ending, and we both enjoyed that. However, the original ending was crap. I agree with everyone hated it. Everyone hated it, and rightfully so. Like even me, I went, wow, that was a stinker of an episode. Now, my wife is rewatching them right now, currently on the last season, and tells me it's not bad. But she says, I remember we hated, because she was watching we had gotten married while I was watching Dexter, and I had her catch up and watch the first 4 seasons, I think. And we started watching, we got married, we started watching, I think, during 5, I can't remember. But she thinks 8 is so far a good series, but she said, I remember us hating it. She said, what did we hate about it? And I said, you'll find out in the finale, because she doesn't remember it as much. But when she finds out, she's going to realize why we hate it. It's just crap. The whole thing, Deb dying, just going out into the ocean, then later on being in Canada by himself, it's just a big fart burger in your mouth that you don't want, okay? Terrible conclusion to a great TV show. My wife last night, she's watched every season, but she hasn't finished 8 yet. And she was ranking the seasons. Of course, season 4, The Trinity Killer, best season ever. If they'd have stopped the show right then and there, it probably would have been the best series ever. But she said season number 1 is her second favorite. And I can't remember. She likes 5. She likes 5 a lot and hates 6 and 7. Or liked some things about 7, but hated season 6. And I remember her complaining about it when we watched it. I remember enjoying season 6. I didn't think it was that bad, but she hated it. I remember her hating it back in the day too. But she's enjoying season 8. Or that's either way. But she gave me a whole rundown of Dexter for like an hour last night. But when she gets to the ending, she's gonna hate it. Now she hated the New Blood ending anyway. Now I hear they're planning on a prequel series where the Dexter will narrate it about his younger years. I'll watch it. And then doing a sequel to the series following his son, which maybe I guess Dexter would come back as the ghost, guiding him. Maybe I'd watch that. Maybe. But, Showtime needs a hit, and Dexter was really their only true hit. And so that's why they keep wanting to resurrect this IP. But like I said, a prequel better just go 1 or 2 seasons. I don't think there's that much you can explain with that. And a sequel, I don't know. We'll see. I'd be interested either way because I like Dexter. I like the world of Dexter. Anyway, but terrible original ending to the series. Number 3, bothers me today. I have an X-Files fan who I talked to still, and we both are irritated. Chris Carter, I hate you. You had a great series. I will never rewatch X-Files and they're never going to do this now. I don't think he'd get the money for a movie. But if he would and he had a chance. He had a revival season, 2 revival seasons of Mulder and Scully, and now both actors have said they're kind of done with the characters, and everyone's walked away. And even the new episodes were really good, but they refused to resolve the issue, the big story arc. They refused to end it. Just end it. End the Mulder and Scully story, and I will watch everything, even the crappy, sucky, what was it? The second movie was awful. I like The Lone Gunman. Everyone makes fun, says Lone Gunman was awful. Lone Gunman was great. I enjoyed it. I hated that it got canceled. Yes, I was one of the few people who watched it. Millennium, I remember that being a spinoff, but that was basically a planted spinoff. They purposely put that episode in there to sell the show, and I never watched Millennium. And kind of it's dated now, so... but X-Files, I would rewatch everything if they would end the daggum story. But I know they're not. I know it just neanders down. And even the newer episodes, which weren't giving us anything new, I was hoping that they would end the story. Me and my friend, who are big X-Files friends, were hoping they end the story. They did not. I hate them. I hate it. X-Files is excellent, but that there was no conclusion. There's no conclusion. I hate that. You got to wrap things up. You got to give me closure. And that's what irritates me. But there are 2 that just piss me off to all high heaven. And these are 2 that I think everyone would have on here. Besides Dexter, you may have Dexter too. But Lost. Remember Lost was good for like the first 2 seasons? Maybe season 3. And then started slowly losing your way. But you just held out hope that it would be good at the end. And ever since they showed the smoke monster, which was lame, it just started going downhill for me and got worse and worse. And I was hoping there was going to be something that they knew how to end this, and they did not. I mean, everyone admits it's one of the worst series finales ever, and I could not agree more. Will, on the other hand, said, yes, it sucked, but he didn't mind it. He didn't mind that. He would like I didn't mind Sopranos. He didn't mind Lost. So I guess fair trade there, right? I can't call him a hypocrite because I said the same thing about The Sopranos. But maybe people would disagree. Maybe Sopranos is on your list too. Fair enough if it is. Fair enough. But for me, no. Lost is still number 2. Would have been number 1 back in the day. But number 1 is reserved for a show. I've never seen a show crumble apart as bad as Battlestar Galactica did. Season 1 of Battlestar Galactica, it changed television. I'm telling you right now, it changed television, on how TV shows are made. It was a trailblazer. And season 2, which is good, doesn't hold a candle to season 1. When I saw season 1, because I watched this, I think right as the last season had aired, because I waited till it was finished, because I didn't really know that much about it. But I watched season 1. I said, wow, I made a mistake. I should have watched this live. This is the best thing I've ever seen. And season 2 happens. And it's good. Not as good as season 1. Season 3 happens. And it's not good. But maybe they're going somewhere. I say, okay, there's a lot of nothing happening here. Some repetitive storylines. Not much happening here. I'm going to hold my breath because I knew that season 4 was their last season. And I said, perhaps there'll be a payoff in season 4. In season 4, the wheels fell off this train, and it was a wreck. It was a wreck. And to make matters worse, that series finale was the ultimate, the bottom of the bottom. They could not sink any lower than what they did. I mean, it was so, because you think the first episode, solid, your butt's on the edge of your seat the whole time. And then you show someone, if you were to show someone here's the pilot, which is usually it's the exact opposite, right? The pilot's probably the weakest episode. No one's in character yet. Everyone's trying to fill out your way. You even tell people it's a little slow at first, but you'll get used to it. And then it moves to the finale, and it is great. Usually that's what you want. No, not this one. This one is horrendous. Horrendous. Horrible. Awful. Hated everything about it. Just such a bad... and the thing is, they probably should have stopped after season 1 and had everyone begging for more. Because Battlestar Galactica, at this point, could they have saved the series? I don't know. But I know they didn't do us any favors. They did us no favors by giving us that stinker of a finale. Now, if there are any others, and I can't remember, I did one about best TV finales, and I remember I did this one with Benjamin a long time ago, and I said, hey, let's circle back around. I don't want to do it right now, but I said, but let's circle back around and do worse. And he agreed, but we never got around to it. But he said he wouldn't even know it. I know people have said Seinfeld, but I didn't mind it because it was a show about nothing. Yes, you wanted something epic, but what were you expecting? How were they to finish that? Was there any good way to... I just recently rewatched all the Seinfelds like a couple of years back because I don't think I'd seen every single one. And when I watched it, I was like, it's not that bad. What did you expect? That's my question with Seinfeld. Anything else that I heard from people? I cannot think about it. If Will and I said that, I'm looking over my notes here real quick. Nothing. Oh, I remember I looked online. There was a few others. My wife saw True Blood. She hated the ending to that. I never watched that. I could not. I hated the fake accents. I thought they were horrendous accents. They were just so terrible. What was the other thing that I did not like? I can't remember. I'm trying to think of other ones that I heard. Online, they said dinosaurs because I think they die at the end or something, but I think that's funny. Oh, my wife said Alf, because Alf gets captured at the end. And she loved Alf, and she was worried for Alf, but the movie kind of skipped over it, which I agree. The movie kind of dropped the ball a little bit on that. But what else? She said something. Oh, Roseanne. Everyone talks about that was dumb, but I never watched Roseanne. I'm not going to watch Roseanne. Just because it wasn't a big deal for me back in the day. I did see Mad Men was bad, and I remember thinking, wow, that kind of was flat. But then, just like Seinfeld, how were they supposed to end it? And Mad Men will be a TV show I will watch again one day, I think. I think I will watch it. Now, I can't remember anything. I know they had some WB shows that my wife used to watch, like gosh, Gossip Girls or Pretty Little Liars. My wife got tired of the whole series after a while. But, I heard those were stinkers. And, Mikey would have put, a long time ago, me and Mikey talked about this, and Scrubs was one I remember he liked too. No, it's Gilmore Girls. That's the one my wife said, I think. But, and some, like a lot of these that I've seen, I never saw any of those that were bad. But I remember somewhere when I looked this up said Ozark. And I was like, wait, trying to think back. I like the ending to Ozark. Either way, though, rambling now. Tell me what your worst TV sequels were, and I'll see you next time on Saturday Morning Samoflange.